The repercussions to the teleport changes seem to be bigger than I think a lot of people are willing to analyze within the current landscape of just esports in general. Now, I'll be touching a little bit on solo queue as well too, but mostly this is pertaining to pro play. And this is, of course, in regards to the TP changes to where that you can't cancel your TP. Now, this is by far the wrong way to force only top laners to take TP, because that's truly what Riot's intention is, right? It's pretty obvious that they want TP to be limited to maybe 1 or 2 players on the team, and they don't want it to be the oversaturated summoner spell that maybe like Flash is in this current iteration of League of Legends. So now, if you think about just TP in general, you know that with the changes that they've made, they want guaranteed action because, well, if you can't cancel it, then you're forced to make whatever play that you were trying to make go off kind of unhinged and scrap to whatever that you can get off of that play itself. So they want to force this type of action constantly so that something has to happen when you do that TP play. So you have to make absolutely sure, because you can't get this cooldown back and refunded. So this completely ruins higher solo queue with no comms. Let's just jump over to solo queue for a second and just pick that apart, because you don't have any comms. You can't communicate with anyone else on your team to say that, hey, I'm going to be going for this TP play if maybe they push up past this point in the river, just to let you know, bot lane. So just look out for that shit. And, well, if it happens, then bam, you have a 1-second delay maybe. And now, since the TP is going to take so long to do, I think it's at 4 seconds now. They luckily reduced the cooldown from 4.5 seconds to 4 seconds. But still, if that play is botched, now you're fucked top lane, and your top laner is incredibly screwed if they try and do a play towards the bot side. So this screws a top laner theoretically, or a mid laner as well too, I guess, if they take that spell. But it screws them really hard out of a wave, maybe a wave and a half, if shit goes sour. So this really screws just the high solo queue elements. And I say high solo queue because it doesn't really ruin low solo queue anyway, since most people use TP to get back to lane regardless. So, you know, maybe if they're in a bad matchup, they could just go back, you know, go back to Fountain, get some HP, and then come back with maybe a couple more pots or whatever the fuck. And then also, no one's going to take advantage of that misplay of use of TP, because people don't know about wave management in lower solo queue. So it's not really that big of a deal. But in higher solo queue, and especially in professional play, it is very detrimental. Now, with this and with this nerf, I think we can expect hard CC engage is a must in team comps nowadays, due to just the play itself must be successful, or the CD will be severely punished. Because now with patch 8.14, I believe, the increase in CD went from 5 minutes to 6 minutes, a whole fucking more minute, and you can't even get that refunded, of course, nowadays, because you can't cancel it. So now you're just really hardcore screwed if you don't make this TP play happen. So in order to make that happen, you put a lot of hard CC on your team. And I think that's why we're seeing a little bit more hard CC within the top lane with Sion, or maybe in Ornn as well too for the bot lane, because of course his passive has been buffed, but it's also his engage is pretty fucking guaranteed when you look at just his ability with his ultimate. So hard CC is very valuable nowadays, because you need to make sure that that TP play happens and something goes correctly with it. And not only that, but that you can force fights. If it comes to that and the TP play gets botched, then at least you have the superior team fight when you're going to do an objective, because you use that TP, so you're most likely on the bot side of the map. Now, speaking of bot side of the map, you have the dragon. Now, dragon spawns every 5 minutes. Well, if you look at the TP timer and the CD timer, it's 6 minutes. So now the enemy team auto gets dragon priority if you botch a TP play, because now your dragon priority, or your TP priority, or your TP cooldown, sorry, is longer than the actual dragon spawn, so that they can make a play off of that. They have an incredibly long amount of time in order to make a play around dragon, and then so therefore they can put pressure towards top side and still have that TP play to then of course get the dragon. And so they'll be fighting over dragon, and then the enemy top laner is fucked because he doesn't have TP, and yet you're chilling there with your top laner up there like, well, do you want to lose 2 waves, or do you want to go and get this dragon? Oh wait, that's right, you can't, you're fucked. So it just makes it a lot more crucial and critical to keep track of these TPs and to make sure that you use the CD correctly, or else you're going to get screwed. And that also means that baiting for TPs is a lot more valuable as well too, because, well, it can't be refunded. So if you're baiting for dragon, and dragon is more powerful now with the percent buffs that it has now been increased, right? So Infernal Drakes are way more powerful now. They, of course, reworked the Cloud Drake to do in-combat movement speed, so that's even more powerful. So in general, all these dragons are more powerful. And then same thing with the Mountain Drake. If you get that and then you do the plates as well too, then it's easier to take down the plates. So overall, just dragons are way better now. So baiting out a TP, then to go and get the dragon after you bait out the TP, that's really, really critical. And I think that is a little bit underrated right now with some teams. Some teams really aren't playing with these hard CC comps that I was talking about. But more specifically, they aren't really playing the ante of that, which is massive peel. And I think peel should be very valuable coming into the future meta, and it just hasn't really caught up yet in terms of the current meta that we're in the professional scene. So you'll probably see things like maybe a Janna that's, of course, the fucking master at peel, right? So if you TP, guess what? You're kind of fucked, because you aren't going to be able to do anything after you TP, because you're just going to get tornadoed. And then if that doesn't fucking work, then you're just going to get monsooned, and you can't touch, you know, the AD carry or the mid laner or whatever. So peel, very underrated. Teleport is massively nerfed, and with that teleport nerf, and with you having to complete your teleport, then that's going to put more pressure around the dragon area. So you have to make sure that you have a lot of hard CC, a lot of peel, and it just kind of changes the entire dynamic of the professional scene. And I think we'll see this into fruition in the coming months, but I just don't think a lot of the populace, or even a lot of people, have talked about the ramifications of this TP nerf itself.